I do so many different types of art on so many different mediums, and it's nice to know that no matter what they start on, I can always bring them into Procreate and continue that journey and take them a little bit further. Today we're going to have a look at some of the methods and the process that I like to use when I turn my sketches into digital art. This is going to look a little bit different for everyone, but this is just the way I like to do it. Feel free to experiment with all different types of art and how you want to bring them in and continue that work digitally. But this is what I found works for me, and I've been doing this for quite some time now. We're going to be working with a couple of different angles today. We've got the front-on view here. I've also got the overhead view rolling. And when we do jump on the iPad, we're going to have an internal view there as well, just so you can get a better idea and understanding of what's going on when I'm doing certain things. So with all of that out of the way, I did realize I'm going to need a sketch that we're going to work with today, something I have done on pencil and paper that I'm going to bring into Procreate. I had a look through some of my sketchbooks here. This one didn't really turn up too much, but then I hit the jackpot with this one here, and I decided this piece here. This is definitely the piece I want to work with. I've actually done a version of this before digitally, but I really want to do something different with it this time and experiment a little bit. So my main goal today is to get this into Procreate and lay a really nice line work down. I think if we can get to that point by the end of this video, I'd be super happy with the outcome, and I think it'll be ready to take it a bit further in the future. Like I mentioned before, I did this drawing with pencil on paper. I do want to note that you're probably going to want to go a little bit harder with your pencil. You want to press a bit harder. You want to make some really nice, crisp, contrasting lines. It definitely is going to help when we eventually get this into the iPad. But at the moment, this is looking really nice. Don't worry about all the marks on this page here. This is just going to be a reference. You can see here I've made some initial marks when I was starting to draw this piece, really just trying to outlay it. That's not going to matter too much. The main thing you want is the piece that you want to bring into Procreate. Once we have that, we're going to grab our iPad. For the process I'm showing you today, you are going to need an iPad, and you're going to need the app Procreate. It's my primary form of drawing digitally. I don't think there's any better app in the world, to be honest with you. So you are going to need the iPad and Procreate for all of this to make sense today. But once we do have that in front of us, we're going to go ahead and open up Procreate. And we're going to be faced with the gallery view here. We're simply going to go and tap on the plus button on the top right-hand corner of the screen. Then we're going to tap on A4. Super simple and very easy to understand dimensions of this page. If you weren't aware, if you are using the larger iPad, the 12.9-inch iPad, it is almost the same size as an A4 piece of paper, so it's going to give you really good reference. A quick side note as well, if you are really new to Procreate, check out the link at the top of the screen right now. It'll take you to a video where I talk you through the basic layout and orientation when you do get into Procreate for the first time. It's a great way to go a little bit further if you've never really been inside Procreate, or you just want to know a little bit more, and it can really help in those early stages when you're trying to find your way around. But for the sake of the video today, we're in our artwork here. Now, there's a few steps we want to follow. We've got our drawing underneath here. Really important to keep that underneath the iPad. And we've got a few buttons up here on the top left-hand side of the screen. We're going to tap on the wrench tool. Once we've tapped on the wrench tool, we're going to be faced with a bunch of options, and the one we want to use is take a photo. Once we tap on that, we're not going to see much because our iPad is almost directly on the table. But when we do start to lift the iPad up, we're going to see our design underneath. All we're going to do is we're going to frame this up, and we're going to take a photo. All right, and we're done. That was super simple. As you can see, I wasn't super worried about being too precise with it. I did make sure I got the orientation relatively stable. And then we're faced with two options down the bottom here. We can retake the photo, or we can use the photo. Let's use the photo because I'm pretty happy with this. And there we have it. The piece has been imported into Procreate exactly where we want it. Two things to note here. If we use two fingers and move them around the screen, it's going to move the image if we have those two fingers on the image itself. Once we use them outside of the image, it's going to adjust the canvas. So I like to move the canvas in just a little bit so I can see the whole thing. Then I can resize my image above it exactly where I want it. As you can see, when I increase it, I'm losing the book around it, which is no problem at all. The main thing I want is that image inside. Don't worry if we have some of that book left. Well, we can see some of the book. That is more than fine. And there we have it. I'm really happy with how this is looking right now. We're going to tap on the pointer at the top of the screen, and this is looking great. So now what do we have? We have an A4 canvas within Procreate, and within that canvas, we have our hand-drawn piece of art, which is ready to go further with. But you're thinking, what's next? What we're going to do, we're going to tap on the layers icon at the top of the screen, and we're going to be faced with the layers panel. This is great because it shows that we've got our initial sketch in on its own layer, and layers are going to be vital to this process. We have a few options here when it comes to this layer. We can see the image that we imported there, but on the other side of it, we have a checkbox which will turn off and on the layer. And then we also have an N. This is where we want to be. We're going to tap directly on that N, and we're faced with a bunch of filters below it. We don't want to worry about this. We are concerned with opacity just in here. Let's see what happens when we slide that opacity slider down. The opacity is going to drop, which is perfect. What we're going to do is we're going to work directly over the top of this piece. We're not going to work directly on this layer. So we're going to lower the opacity so we see less of it, allowing us to see what's been done over the top directly in reference to that. I'm going to bring mine down to about 50%. That's usually where I like to work with this type of workflow. We're going to tap back on the layer itself. That's going to minimize those options. But before we tap out of the layers panel, we want to tap on the little plus icon right there. It's going to create another layer over the top. We don't want to work directly on that layer that we just imported because eventually that will get deleted. It's kind of like if you took a photo and you have the photo printed out and you want to make adjustments to that photo. Maybe you want to write something over the top of it or reference it. You don't want to write directly on that photo. You're probably going to grab a piece of baking paper or tracing paper, put that over the top, and then whatever you do on that layer is going to stay there, but everything underneath is not going to be affected. Essentially, that's the same thing here. And then we're fine. Whatever we do on this layer now, it's not going to affect our original sketch, and we'll be able to go ahead and delete that at a further stage. From here, we don't want to delete it yet because we still want to be able to see it. We're going to tap on the layers panel button. It's going to minimize that, and then we are free to go. We are on the right layer. Whatever we do now, there's no issues at all. From here, my goal is to put finished line work down on this new layer. I'm not going to worry about sketching again. I'm really happy with the orientation and the layout of this design already. You could go ahead and sketch over the top though if you did want to alter anything and make as many layers as you like. But for this purpose right now, I'm going to go straight to a finished outline. So I'm going to go with black. Let's go and choose a color at the top right hand corner of the screen. We're going to tap on the color icon and we're going to move our slider to pure black. Tap back on that colors to minimize it. And then we're going to choose our brush. My favorite lining brush in the world is under the inking category. If you have Procreate, it'll be pre-installed for you already. No need to worry. And then we're going to go to the Studio Pen. I love the Studio Pen. And a really quick tip, if you want even smoother lines, maybe you haven't been using Procreate that long, or you do want a really nice, smooth, finished result, tap on that pen again that you've chosen, or the brush that you've chosen, and we're going to go to stabilization. This way, when we're in here, we can up something called the streamline amount. If you have this really, really low, Procreate's going to pick up on every single little movement that you make through your Apple Pencil. You might get a bit more of a jittery line, but you also might get more of a natural line. A lot of artists really like to do that. For the line work that I like to create, I like to have my streamline turned up most of the time, all the way. Hit done, tap back on the brush icon, and we're ready to outline. The only other thing we have to worry about from here is using the sliders on the left-hand side of the screen. Bottom is opacity. For me, I'm not going to worry about that because I want to do straight outlines, nice and thick and bold. I'm going to keep that at 100%. All I have to do is go ahead and figure out exactly what brush size I want to use. For a design like this, I may power line the mask a little bit. That's where I'm coming in with maybe a thicker outline. And then maybe I want to go a little bit thinner for the flowers. I can vary that as I go, very, very simply. So let's have a look and see what size the 10 is. The 10 is perfect. I'm really, really happy with that. Now that I'm happy with the size 10, I'm ready to start outlining. I can pinch and zoom as much as I like. Remember, we are in our own layer here, so we're not going to have to worry about affecting that initial sketch. And we can set to work. Quick little side note as well, if I want to create a really, really straight line and I don't want to have to worry about doing it 3, 4, 5 times with the undo, and I just want to get it right, I can tap, draw the line all the way through to the finish point and then hold. Before I release my pen, I want to hold it there, and it's going to snap that line into place, nice and straight. You're never going to have to worry about it. This can be really, really handy when you are trying to get through artwork really fast. Maybe you just want to get that line work out as quick as possible so you can move on to the color. And there we have it. We are all done. Really, really happy with how this turned out. As you can see, I've got my outline there perfectly laid out, nice and bold, some really nice power lines through here, thicker segments which are going to highlight certain parts of the piece. Something to notice as well with this is you will see some of my original design underneath here. It's a little bit shadowed out. It's not super strong. That's the original photo that we took. If we tap on the layers menu up here, we can see this one here is the original image which we took and imported into Procreate. And this is the one with the outline on it. You can go ahead and rename these if you like. I'd highly suggest that if you're going to work with lots of layers. And now what we can do, it's very, very simple. We can deselect the original image. Then once we tap out, we're going to see that we have our nice bold outline ready to go and ready for color. If you do want more tips on layers and specifically reference layers, which are going to really help with when we're moving into color for a piece like this, check out the link at the top of the screen. I have a video where we cover that really in depth, and it's going to get you going for the future. From here, it's your choice what you want to do. I would highly suggest keep going with layers. Layers are so vital to the Procreate process, and they really allow you to create some amazing pieces. And on a side note as well, if you do want more tips about how to outline better in Procreate, don't forget to check out the card at the top of the screen. It's got a video that I did a little while ago on just how to get the best results out of that as well. But for now, I think you'd be more than fine to get your non-digital artwork pieces into Procreate. This works perfectly for sketches, paintings, anything you really need. You could take a photo of a wall and mock up some art you want to do on it. This process is really endless. So get out there, give it a go. Check out the cards up here of some of my other videos that you really might like to enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next video.